to NURFM.com, a broadcast service of the University of Newcastle.
The Great Wall of China, we are all familiar with that, and of course the rabbit-proof fence. But what, may I ask, is the Great Wall of Africa? Here to explain all, Director of the Tom Farrell Institute for the Environment, and thanks to our sponsor, Sugar Valley Lifestyle Estate, West Wallsend, it is one and only Professor Tim Roberts. Tim, what is this Great Wall of Africa?
It's something that's going to hold back the Sahara Desert. It's going to be a strip of trees about 15 kilometres wide and about 7,000 kilometres long, and it'll be built from...
Give that to me again. I've got to get that
15 kilometres wide and 7,000 kilometres long, and it'll run from the sea on the left-hand side of Africa to the sea on the right-hand side of Africa. So it'll start in Senegal and then it'll go through about 11 countries, and I could list those for you if you like, and it'll end up in Djibouti on the right-hand side of Africa. So it's just a band, it'll be a green band, a green wall across Africa. And the important thing is it'll generate its own climate, it'll generate moisture into the soil, and it will also generate a lot of food and products for each of those countries.
Can I ask, Tim, there are a number of countries, Burkina Faso, of course, is the one that's been in the news because of the doctor and his wife being abducted. However, are these countries all in agreement? It's a disparate part of the world, often politically. Is this something that they have been able to agree on?
They've all agreed on it, they've all signed off on it, but they haven't all got it underway because they get involved in other things, as you just alluded to. So the one that's furthest ahead is Senegal, and that's already put in 30,000 hectares of trees already, and that's going really, really well. They started strongly in 2008. So the idea came in about 2005, and then they all got together, and by 2008 they'd signed off to be part of it, and then they've started planting these trees. So,
what sort of trees are we talking about?
Well, they are, what sort of trees are they? They are trees for food. They're all native trees. They're trees for cooking oil. They're trees for folk medicine and cosmetics. So you can get a product from these trees. So it creates a cottage industry for those people living around there. This area of forest is fenced off, so the cattle and the goats can't get in there and eat it to death again, because
the goats will eat anything, won't they?
Yeah, that's it. And it's the hard-footed animals that have really turned the soil into desert in Africa, as has happened in Australia as well. And so if you can keep the animals away, then you can grow this food. It creates its own climate. The French have done some research there, and they've put in temperature sensors, and they've shown that the trees moderate the daily temperature extremes, so it's nicer to live near them and in them as well. They have left a strip on either side so that the fire won't come easily and burn the things, and so it's just I think it's a fantastic idea. I think
tremendous.
It's really, really amazing that it's happening, and it's underway, and what the plan is to stop the ongoing creep of the desert sands.
The Sahara Desert, I'm guessing that's the big one. I find it remarkable, Tim, that planting this band of trees can actually create, if you like, a local climate. I just think that is remarkable and wonderful. What about water to actually get them growing and going? Obviously, once they get to a certain stage, they'll be okay. Are there water issues with the seedlings? Or
there are. So the seedlings have to be grown carefully, and then you have to plant out at the right time so that they're able to get established before the dry season comes in. But at the end of the day, it's proving to be very, very successful. And when you do have trees do create a microclimate, and trees do create what's called a small water cycle. So if you go into the forest in the morning, you'll find there's a whole lot of dew everywhere. And this is some of that water that has been transpired by the trees and then comes down as very fine rain and collects. And so a small water cycle, very, very important.
Now, this is not a new idea, you're telling me.
Yeah. Well, I've got a a good friend, a mentor, Kevin MacDonald, who used to be a lecturer here at the university many years ago. And Kevin was telling me that in the 80s, he listened to a lecture by a fellow, Richard St Barb Baker, who was an English forester, who started planting these trees to try and hold back the Sahara in the 1920s in Africa. So nothing's new under the sun.
No,
it
okay.
just requires people to get together and to have a common goal and to understand that you can't get trees growing if you're going to let the animals eat them off before they can get established. Nothing's new under the sun. If you want to read about this fellow, he created a movement that's still going called Men of Trees.
Men of Trees. Very good.
Men of the Trees.
Yeah,
and that is still an active network right now.
Men of the Trees. Very
Yes.
good. Now, you've got a meeting of the Hunter Skeptics on this Thursday as well. You just wanted to let everyone know about that one.
Well, again, Kevin MacDonald, secretary of the Hunter Skeptics, which
Okay.
is a group of people who get together to discuss all sorts of newspaper reports and other things in the world, and they are trying to show that you've got to have a scientific evidence base to being able to believe in ghosts or whatever else. And so that's a group of people who discuss all sorts of things, and it's happening in the Club Macquarie on Thursday at 7 p.m. Would be fun to go, I think.
Okay, so 7 p.m, Club Macquarie, that's on Lake Road, Argenton, starting at 7 this Thursday night if you'd like to get along to that. Now, next Tuesday, we're going to discuss, today we've tried to halt the progression of the Sahara Desert. Next week, we're talking about stopping the flooding.
Yeah, and what I wanted to allude to is the sort of floods I've had in England recently, where all those towns were suddenly flooded. And a way in which some towns have found to stop that by going upstream and slowing the flow of the creeks
Did you see
into the
that
town.
castle in Scotland that was falling into the river?
Yes.
Just remarkable. We'll talk about that next Tuesday. Don't miss a moment of The Environment and Us with Professor Tim Roberts, Director of the Tom Farrell Institute for the Environment at the University of Newcastle.